hide the mic.
I know.
This is
It's the thing about this is I did some things with the brass motor out in Phoenix, and I took my daughter out, and we were doing some things, and my mic went dead on me. I went a lot of work, and so I found this Australian stuff that looks pretty good. Now I want to get you lined up here.
now. Where is the mic picking up? Is it
It picks up right up here, right there.
at the very top?
Yeah, that's where it's picking up. So.
There you go.
All right, now you can kind of scoot over here, so you'll be in the picture a little.
Do I need to come closer to you?
Yeah, you need to come on over closer. We don't have a whole lot to work with here, but That's,
Now you're recording.
I'm recording.
And will you go?
I'll go back and edit. Yeah, I'll edit
Look at
some of
you.
this, and I'll do some of that.
And then you'll post.
Yeah, and that's one thing I found that when I'm doing this is it's better to do it this way and edit, and then I can put stuff in. But I'll tell you what I want to do. I'm going to start with a couple of clips, and it'll kind of get it going, because they're kind of fun things, but it's things that you've done in your lifetime.
Oh,
and,
Lord.
Yeah, and so I wanted to go back and, this thing's got all kinds of views, 42,000 or so. I guess you've got to look back and seen what all it's brought in, but I want you to talk about this a little bit.
This is the University of Texas Athletic Department. Yeah, I need to talk to somebody. This is the groundskeeper up at Warren Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. I got a real problem here. Can I talk to somebody there?
Okay, let me introduce you to the athletic director.
Yeah, this Walker.
This is Gilbert McElroy up here in Little Rock at Warren Memorial Stadium. I'm the groundskeeper.
Yes, sir, Mr. McElroy.
And I was calling Mr. Dodd, who is the athletic director there, trying to talk to Coach McWilliams. Are either one of them in?
No, sir, I don't believe they are. I could check for you.
Well, we've got a small problem up here,
Yes.
and I just want to know how to handle it.
Well, I'll try to help you if I can.
All right. What it is last night, our boy that marks the field on the AstroTurf,
Yes.
the sun was going down, it was getting real dark, and naturally we don't want to have to turn the lights on to mark the field, and his deadline was last night, and so it was dark, and he didn't realize what he was doing, and he's putting y'all's name in our south end zone, and he added an extra S.
I beg your pardon.
He put an extra S on your name.
How do you mean that?
What I mean is that it's TEXASS, and we don't have enough time to take that off. And I just want to know how we ought to handle this. That's why I want to talk to Coach McWilliams or Mr. Dodd.
I think he's going to say the same thing I am. I think you need to get the S off there.
Well, there's no way we can do it, sir, because it's just too involved. I don't know what to do about this.
Well, you just got. I don't know that I've ever encountered anything quite like this.
See, if y'all run out on the field, it's going to say Texas. So
This is a joke, right?
this has really happened here.
That's why
Son,
I thought.
see if you can find the coach.
See if you can find the coach.
Yeah.
Go get him.
Are you,
I think if
He
we
thinks
could
it's
get
serious
that
now.
off, and your name was McElroy?
yeah, Gilbert McElroy.
Mr. McElroy, if you can't straighten this off, I think we've got a serious problem here.
But now one thing we can do is put two lines down the middle.
That's my favorite part.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
I guess anything's better than nothing, but I think that's a pretty poor solution.
All right, now
It's just white the whole thing out. Just white it out.
All right,
Just
now-
paint the whole thing out.
all right, now we may not be dry. If your boys score or our boys score, they're gonna get that paint all over them, and also that can cause welts to break out on your skin. You ever rubbed up against that stuff? I'm telling you, Mr. Walker, this is a real crisis here. This game's gonna be on TV, and I just
We certainly don't want to say tax ass. Well, I think that we got to do something about
I think our dollar signs are best.
That doesn't
Pretty
sound
appropriate.
like a reasonable solution.
It does to me.
Mr. McElroy.
It does to me.
And I think that we better get our respective athletic directors involved with this, sir. And
Well,
is this the best you folks up in Arkansas can do?
well, for right now, it's the only thing I can, unless you think we ought to add another S to Arkansas. Maybe.
I don't think that would make on, Coach. Hold on.
Getting serious
Coach,
now.
Please, right now. Hold on a minute. He's not too happy about this. But,
Well.
Mr. McElroy.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make the S into a B. We're gonna make the S into a B. You following this?
Not very well, sir.
All right, and a 98.5.
Yeah.
What, B 98.5?
Yes, sir.
I don't understand that, sir.
Yes, sir.
What good will that do?
Well, that's my radio station, Mr. Walker.
Is this a disc jockey?
Probably a disc jockey, Mr. Walker. This is Craig O'Neill of B98.5 in Little Rock, Arkansas. You've just been a star of Candid Radio. So
Well, you had me good.
Well, I said I wanted to start with that because you know that was your lot. What I knew of you and
Oh yeah.
Up
in Harrison, Arkansas?
Sure, yeah.
Wow.
There's people when I start talking about Craig, that's one of the things that they think about, and I thought.
Yeah.
You know, and you go back today, and I was talking to a preacher that had moved from Kentucky, and of course we're having a lot of fun on the thing with Calipari because
Oh yeah.
that's a big
Right.
that's a big serious thing there. But he was talking when I said something about we were going to talk, and he said, well, what people told me to do is go back and look at those videos, and that's what's driven the numbers there. But it's funny. Because, the last 24 years, and I look back and a lot of things are about the news part of it, and of course the book, but that's a different part. Now, I don't know that it'll ever develop, but I'm thinking, I had kind of an epiphany when I went down to my therapist, and it is physical therapist, not the other time, but today I said, it's the time for Beavis and Butthead, and you would be the with the lips, you got him made there. You got to think about
It's
that.
funny because Beavis and Butthead made a guest appearance on Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you're aware of this,
Oh, yeah,
but on
I saw it.
YouTube, the
They took
numbers
off.
had gone through the roof for Saturday Night Live because it was so funny.
Yeah, they couldn't keep a straight face.
Oh my gosh.
I was watching that, and I caught that, and of course I caught the lady basketball, but. That was it was I couldn't believe they just couldn't stay in the park there. But
I wouldn't have. Would you?
No.
If you turned
You
around and
look at
there's
that
Beavis and Butthead in
well,
there.
you think about the cartoon, but that's what I'm getting at. There's going to be somebody's. It's a little bit like when they did they've done stuff with Andy Griffith, and they've done other things that made a point. But there's going to be some people there with some takeoff on that, and that's funny because I thought that was.
That's a whole different generation that appeals to.
Yeah.
And Saturday Night Live picked up on it
Yeah.
and scored.
It was one of the best they've done.
Just like this podcast.
Yeah.
You're appealing to the generation. You're scoring here, Herb. So
Thank you. Well, I want to give you a little bit of a disclaimer here because I want to tell you why you were asking me why this was what I was doing. I said it was, it's created and directed and produced and starring a lot of people that have Parkinson's. And now, when you start looking at the Parkinson number of people, there's really they say about 1 million, but I think there's a lot more people
I do too.
that have effects of it.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to kind of carry it into is a larger audience, and that's the people with disabilities, because you could see I've kind of come across that when you have a daughter growing up with some
Right.
special needs, and a lot of times people don't really understand that. And so I took her we went out to out to Phoenix, and we did the Waymo thing where you had the car that drives itself, and we got in
Wow.
there, and I got pictures of that, and it's amazing. Her take on that was pretty good. I mean, she didn't have a problem with that. I took someone when we were flying down. We were flying out of Harrison, and she was pretty nervous on it. But when she's on the Waymo, she didn't have a problem. And what I'm getting at, there's going to be things for people, and we talk about artificial intelligence, and I've got a smartwatch and I've got
Sure.
other devices.
I've got a car out there now that you can do a remote backup with the car. Genesis of Conway's letting me drive it, and you can press a button and the car will back up while you're standing outside the car.
Yeah.
Think about it, Herb. So you're in a tight parking space and you just want to back it out. You stand outside the car and back it out. Then you open up the car door, you get back in. That's artificial intelligence, which has made it actually safer to
Yeah.
pull out of a parking space, especially a tight one. So I'm with you.
And that's the thing. And I was getting at that when I traveled. I said, a lot of people maybe telling people they don't need a wheelchair. So they can see on my health records that I'm not walking that much, and it's not one of those things where I think that information is going to be there. It's just a little bit like Facebook and other things. You got to be careful how that information is taken care of.
Oh.
It's very important. But you know, if you go to a concert or something, you don't want a whole bunch of people that don't have disabilities taking the seats
Advantage.
and parking.
Well,
And there's going to be some stuff like that, I think.
now, well, there's the smart watch, but you want people who are smart when they watch. Get it?
You're right. Right.
So there you go.
Well, one of the things, and one of the ideas I had here when I was putting this together, was there's a lot of focus on, you know, a lot of the things that people are doing technology-wise, but there's a missing piece there because people have anxiety and depression, and what we're trying to do, and kind of touched on the Beavis, but it's kind of take a Ted Lasso or a different approach to this and be real mindful of people wanting to watch something or be involved, because you know we did some things travel wise and we're doing some things
good.
with people, and I'm going to be doing something with Sidney Moncrief. He's got a new book, and he's got a lot of ways to deal with people and talk about that. So that's what we're going to do. But the other part of this is there's probably people I know that get something like this at a later stage in life, and there's a you know, people that can volunteer, they can do certain things. It may be, you know, they just have to figure out what they can do, but
Right.
they need to be out around people and doing things. So that's one of the things I wanted to kind of communicate too, is that we want to do things like that. And,
My father had it,
okay.
had Parkinson's, and it was slow to develop. Had it, didn't pick up on it till he was 82.
Right.
He passed away in 2010, but point being, family suddenly became important to him.
Right.
And not necessarily to him where he was demanding, but you could see him respond when family came to him, because he was in New Orleans, pretty much away from most of the family. Everybody was spread out.
Right.
But we would make it a point to get around him, and he was in New Orleans. Now, when Katrina hit, he came to Little Rock. So in the last days of his life, he was in Little Rock and responded to that. So what I'm saying is, my anecdote confirms exactly what you're saying, that
Yeah.
even though you're faced with that, there are ways to battle it.
Yeah. There's some funny things. Of course, I tell people I'm the first person to be on a fashion.
Look at you.
Fashion
Is
magazine.
that you?
Yeah, I was on that for a fashion.
Wow.
But
It's a great picture.
photographer was great to pick up the fact that I was taking Rocksteady Boxing, and then just look at
Just got reading material everywhere.
Yeah, but I saw this. I was walking down to the therapist, and that's the boxing therapy.
Boxing therapy?
Yeah, and
I thought that was only in marriage.
Rocksteady Boxing. So, and that's out now. And I just caught that today, or yesterday. And my
Oh, for heaven's
Yeah.
sakes.
Yeah.
Look at that.
yeah.
People with Now, how does boxing help Parkinson's?
That's the thing with the Rocksteady Boxing program. The thing you're getting to on that is you have a lot of opportunity to meet people, and you create a family, and you talk about certain things, but you actually do move, and you don't hit each other, but
You can also pick up chicks. Look at that.
yeah, yeah, a lot of good people, a lot of.
Don't you tell your wife I said that.
Yeah,
She's in the other room.
I know. They're,
What are they talking about?
Yeah, there are a lot of things like that when you go to the boxing, though, the camaraderie, and they become family. I mean, they're all uplifting, and
Now, wait a minute. You don't try to knock each other out.
No. If you see the Rocksteady program, you're out there hitting the bags, and you're doing all the maneuvers.
You're doing the exercises,
yeah,
the drills.
the drills,
Yeah.
and it's working on that, and it's kind of funny that Muhammad Ali, they kind of say might have had a part of it, and others say it didn't, but the fact that he had it, it brought attention to that too. But it's not that he was in Rocksteady Boxing, but it is something that I found, and I started about 3 or 4 years ago, and then here I'm going to eventually get into that. I'm doing some therapy now and trying to make some adjustments.
But now, wait a minute. Your mobility has been hampered.
Mm-hmm.
Lower, you told me the lower part of your body. Mm-hmm. You can't box. You can't stand there and hit the bag. Can you?
Well, yeah, you can stand there, and sometimes you can sit there, but They
So
work around.
You're hitting the bag from a seated position.
Sometimes, yeah.
And how do you feel when that's done? When you get back in the car after an hour or so?
I think it's that's the important thing is there being active and doing something. I found that this last weekend, and I kind of talked about that a little bit with people. That I laid down and watched the Masters, and that part got you to a point where you didn't move. I was having difficulty even at church just getting up, and now I've gone this week and done real active things, and I'm back to doing the sit to stand, but. It's staying active and keeping your mind active and doing things, and that's
Like this podcast.
yeah. That's I tell people I want to be the oldest overnight success. To do something.
No, that's me. Wait a minute.
Hey, I'm 80.
I'm going for. Okay, all right, I'll give it to you.
Well, you do something like this, and it's challenging and it's fun, and I've brought my daughter in to do certain things, and I've interviewed her, and I've told people that it gives her some self-confidence, and we go out and do things, and we've been to it's Blake Shelton last year, and just different events that we go out and we experience.
There you go.
All the things.
So you're not letting what's your face
No,
cut down on your mobility.
No, we went to the Waffle House, and said people laughed about that. Said she had a kind of different look. I said that's a really good place to go for experiencing people and things, and we go to things like that.
Now, okay, I gotta know. Do you do it on impulse? Or do you have a calendar in front of you and with this intent of getting out and doing, of bonding with people, do you schedule things?
Not very much.
Really?
Yeah, no, I like to do that. In fact, I may go down this afternoon to Happy Hour just to sit there and talk to people because I meet a lot of people. I was down into the beach one time. My son took us down there, and I went down there and I just met all kinds of people that you sit there and talk to, and that's the good thing.
All right, now how do you meet them? You
You
hold out a tin cup with a sign? How do you meet them?
A lot of times you'll say something about where are you from, or just a general thing, and you'll get into a conversation about sports or something about I don't get into politics. I stay away from that totally.
Sure.
But I get into all the things that you talk about with what's going on as far as. And I've got a funny thing. I've got a cane. I don't know where it's here, but I got in Arizona, and everybody likes that cane. It looks like, it's all Indian type stuff, and I don't know if I don't go any place if they don't say something about that.
So when do you try to find a spot where people are going to be in line to get, I don't know, coffee or something, or do you find a spot where people start to congregate? Do you strategically select a spot to sit to talk to people?
Well, sometimes it's that, or sometimes people are advertising. You got a cap on or a shirt on or something. And this shirt actually is about a book that's, and I'm going to talk about that a little later. But we have a person in our boxing group that has written a children's book. So if there's something that you come, it really kind of just comes off just off the spot, and you could be something. Sports is easy now with obviously with things going on with the Calipari, and so you can start there. I had a guy the other day I was sitting by, and he had a Michigan cap on, and it was during the basketball playoffs things, and he didn't have any interest there really of that, but you could tell that he had a cap on, and he'd moved down here, and of course he's proud of what Michigan had done.
Yeah,
so we
won the national championship in football.
So you can always find
Yeah.
something, either that or I had a car salesman, and I was sitting by him, and you find out how's the prices going.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
was this on a plane?
No, this is just actually just down there.
Striking up a conversation with a car salesman, I would imagine, is a gamble.
Yeah.
Because the next thing you know, have I got a car for you? We could get you into this little car today for just $5,000 plus dealer discount of only $1,800.
Well,
Everything must go. We're doing wall-to-wall saving.
Find out he's been going through a divorce. There's just all kinds of personal stuff.
He's going through a divorce, so you became a marriage counselor.
So it's all kinds of stuff.
Okay,
like that.
okay. I know I'm
No,
diverting you from what you want to talk about, but
no.
I got to know one more thing.
Well, that's
Is there a line or a question that opens people up? Let me share one with you.
Okay.
One of my favorite things to ask when I'm with couples is, where did you two meet?
yeah.
That's one of my, it brings out, it suddenly, you can see people open up and smile. And I'm wondering if you
That's
have a repertoire of questions you might ask that open people up.
that's a lot of it is or are you from a little? I just moved here and
Uh-huh.
and I'm wanting to know something. And I was at. It's the funny thing. It happened in kind of in the reverse. I was we was on the bike down there at the therapy, and this guy looked at me, and I could tell he thought he knew me or knew something about me, and you know he come to me and said, "Did anybody ever say you look like Carrie Bradshaw?" And I got to laughing. I said, "The only people who said that is people that were well, I got the dimple here." That's
Oh, I see. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So he,
Well, I can see it.
well, yeah, but the thing I said, well, only people that's coming, you know, that's had a drink or two. I said the only thing I said as far as doppelganger type stuff, you know, not anybody sober. So I took a picture of him saying it, so I could show people that there are sober people that have said that. Not
Well,
you know. So,
I
but those
get-
are, you know, you just kind of go through the road
Right.
of a lot of things. If you get a chance to anywhere, and as I said. I don't know, it's a racetrack, the NASCAR guy, I forget now, the one that, actually I think they won maybe, maybe the ones that, I don't know, it's Indianapolis 500, but sometimes you see the NASCAR kind of crossover and you see people, Hendricks, I think this guy was from Hendricks, and
Wait a minute. You're telling me a NASCAR fan went to Hendricks?
well, the name is Hendricks.
Oh, his name was Hendricks.
That's a popular name. They don't
Well,
talk.
in
They don't talk
Arkansas-
names. They talk numbers. You know.
In Arkansas, the chances of a NASCAR fan being at Hendricks are pretty
I
slim.
know. I met a person here from Hendricks that it was pretty interesting because you know you pick up on that immediately and you start that dialogue. I'm sure. But now there's a lot of that type of thing that goes on, and it's you know that's the good thing about this type of thing. You slow down, kind of
Yeah.
smell the roses, and then
Yeah.
you start talking to people, and
Right.
and they may
And
may ask you-
listening.
yeah.
And listening to
Oh, yeah.
people. And that's what people want so badly, is to be
Yeah.
heard. And when you are in your position, or now that I'm retired, I'm finding I can take my time and listen to the story. Because we all have these stories that that's our treasure.
Yeah, that
Our stories are our treasure.
the lady that's writing this book, I have to tell you that because it's part of the story anyway. But I had invited her to come to Little Rock to my neurologist because she, you know, she was of course Parkinson's, and she wanted to see what I did and she wrote down with me, and I said, you know, she's hard of hearing, and she just had a thing, and she's crocheting and everything. And I was telling people when I was writing down, I said, I'm gonna be talking to her all the way, you know, and she's just gonna be sitting there doing her thing and everything. And I asked her a question, and I started listening, and I just listened to her all the way. She talked all the way
Wow.
down, all the way
You
down.
were expecting to be the one to talk.
Yeah,
No.
and she got a better story than I did. too.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, her husband was a PGA. Well, he didn't play on the tour, but he was at a course, and our son was at a course, and he's had a stroke, and he's been you know in pretty bad shape. So she had a story that I never had heard, and we just went on and on
Wow.
on the trip, and they had gone to all kinds of things in New England, like the Celtics and Patriots, and she had been helping with some of the announcings. And so they were real popular people, and they were in a different lifestyle. And she's a second grade teacher. That's why when I started kind of plugging her books she's really got a good background to do children's
Oh,
books.
I'm sure.
So she's starting to roll these out, and I think that it kind of opened my eyes when I was there. And then we had a lady that also was a commander on one of the hospital ships. That I knew nothing about the hospital ships. I knew they weren't very many of them. They were big ships, and they got their names on them. And when you have somebody that's worked in the hospital, you know, there, then you find out what do you do when you're not working, you know. And that was
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a good one.
yeah, because
You use that one.
she read books. She read books, and she was over there, you know, in the Desert Storm and all the early phases of that. And
Wow.
and I said, well, didn't you watch Satellite to see what was going on? She said, no, they come around and talk to us. And it was just pretty amazing to see what people do in those situations.
Well, by the way, you played one of my pranks. Back in Desert Storm, there were a couple of pranks that they played for the men overseas in Desert Storm, in a closed circuit radio, and so that was an honor to have a couple of
Yeah.
my pranks played for him. So that was cool.
Well, with Texas being in a conference and coming to Fayetteville, there bound to be somebody pick up on what you did in a different way. Artificial intelligence might bring a different spin to it, but there could be some things happening there.
Yeah.
There's going to be some fun games. So
Oh, I know. I
but-
know.
No, I wanted to get a little bit back into your early life. I wanted to talk a little bit. I know you went to Central and you
Yep.
graduated in
68.
1968. Tell me what was going on in 1968.
1968 was not a particularly good year. We lost Martin Luther King
Mhm.
on April 3rd, I believe, and then Robert F. Kennedy 2.5 months later was assassinated. And those two events, for me, as a senior in high school, were deplorable. They were just deplorable. It was just deplorable. It was awful, and it's terrible to remember a year like that. Plus, in '68, the Tet Offensive in Vietnam, which brought carnage and all these casualties to Americans. And I hate to bring down this podcast with a terrible year '68. It was not a terrible year because I graduated and discovered New York City in that summer and was a camp counselor in the Adirondacks. So there I am dropping. Here we go.
Oh, that's okay.
In the middle of all of this, all of these world tragedies, I'm, on the other hand, discovering new things and seeing the world.
Yeah.
And the contrast of what happened in 1968 makes that an even more memorable year.
Now at Central, the publicity was 1957, and do you feel like 11 years later that things
Yes.
had changed quite a bit?
Well,
Or was it still kind
not
of-
so much. In 1967, Life magazine, you folks remember magazines? Life magazine came and did a 10-year retrospective, and they came to Central. I was a junior that year
Okay.
in 1967,
Okay.
and they did a retrospective. And you'd like to say, oh, 10 years after 1957, it had all changed. No. However, in 1968, there was a cultural shift in America, and we at Central, those of us, my white friends, had discovered soul music.
Is that right?
Aretha Franklin,
Ah.
Temptations, Four Tops, Sam and Dave. And I was blessed with the ability to dance. I've always been
I saw that.
really,
I
yes.
saw the dance that you did.
Go to YouTube, folks, and see Craig dances on Ellen. Anyway, I'm 55 years old in that picture, and I'm still dancing like I'm 20.
Yeah, I know. That was
But
right.
the point being, the cultural shift was a step forward.
Right.
I don't want to say the black-white relationship had improved that much in 1968, but the cultural shift had begun. And now, at Central, if you want to know what's happening now, what is that, 57 years later? Is that right? No, 67. 67 years later, now, get this, there are 23 languages
Wow.
spoken at Central.
That's
23 at a Little Rock High School. And yes, it is so much better.
I always thought I've had somewhat of a connection there because my granddaughter, she started out at Little Rock Christian, but she went over to the Little Rock Center. It was a little bit of an issue where they lived and how they had for her to go down there. But she went down there for a year, and then she went to Joe T. Robinson. But she was still valedictorian, and I thought, that's pretty incredible because of the diversity and everything, and being accepted. I mean, she's gone, Africa, and she's done a lot of things. She's at Duke now doing things.
Wow.
And
What is she majoring in?
well, it is
She
in-
graduated or majoring?
Oh no, she's got another year, but she's over in France last summer, and she's in the medical,
Wow.
I say that area. She got interested in that with all the thing going on with the virus, but she had gotten overshadowed a little bit by her brother, and here she is.
She
kinda-
got overshadowed by her brother. What did her brother do? Win the Nobel Prize? How could she be overshadowed by anybody from what you're
Well,
saying?
He was He was on Jeopardy, Team
Oh,
Jeopardy.
okay.
And he won big time up there. I mean, he didn't win it all, but he was up in the top 3 and come away. But he went to Duke and biomedical engineering. And he's one of those guys or kids that you say, you know, they're in there playing computer games. They're not going to ever, they're not getting out and do. And they found a way, you know, when I go to a doctor anymore, that's what you see on the screen. It's all these things.
Oh yeah.
So he's up, you know, he's doing a lot of
Robotics.
things.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of things in that area. And so, but that's, you know, I think with Sophie being more involved with sports and other things, it'll be interesting as their lives go on because they're so much different, but they have different talents, you know, as far as that goes.
They need to be the ones on this podcast, not me.
Well,
See y'all, folks. Herb's going to get his grandchildren on here. That's fantastic.
well, I know they like, you know, it's a little bit different world sometimes, and actually Sophie, she's pretty good. She's watching my podcast. I don't know about Cooper. He's got a lot of things going on with work, but what I was getting to on 68 is what you said was. I graduated from the University of Arkansas with a master's in math, and I had an opportunity to work at the CIA in Langley.
Wow.
And so I was in Washington, D.C. when you're describing all the things you're describing. And we lived up there, and we saw the assassination, or, you know, the results of that. And it was even more because of all the, you know, the riots and even burning in some of the cities. But you had the Poor People March, but you also had the Vietnam was a really big problem. And I always tell people that when I saw that 68, I went to see how your perception was here, but I saw a lot of things. I wasn't sure, you know, if it was pretty dulled or not. Yeah, not as big, but you know, when you're there, it's something you don't stay there for a long. You know, you get about all your life there, and just a year or two, and you say, I don't think I want to raise my kids, and it you know, obviously, I don't know, it's gotten better in some ways, but worse than a lot of others. So
Right.
I'm kind of glad to be kind of outside that picture, but to be there at that time, that was kind of important. Now,
Well, in 1968, Vietnam War was raging. I'm 17, about to turn 18, and you're getting drafted.
mm-hmm.
And that's top of mind for all of us young men coming out of high school. And fortunately, in 69, they had what was called the lottery, the draft lottery.
Right.
And they had 365 pieces of paper in a jar, Herb, and they pulled it out. And the first number they pulled out would be a date. If that's your birthday, you have the draft number of 1, which means you're going to go.
Right.
Mine didn't come up till 310.
Wow.
I was safe. The very next day, I went down to the post office, dropped my student deferment, and said, come get me. They never came got me because I was 310. So
Wow.
I'm escaped the Vietnam War. But in 1968, there was anxiety among us.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know
Well,
if we were going to go or not.
Yeah, and I was in a situation where I had a deferment, but I still, they still put us in that lottery, and I had a low number, or not, you know, I guess a high number. I wasn't going to be drafted, but still, you would have thought,
Yes.
you would have thought, well,
You got to think that way, didn't you?
Yeah.
How do I get out of this?
Yeah.
Or if I get into it, how can I still stay out of it?
Yeah. Well, now, I know you went through a name change there, and you were in you were at Arkansas State in 1972, and you
There you go.
graduated. And I've heard the story.
Got a degree and I got a wife.
Okay, and so you like the up there, and
Yep.
By
By the way, it's a BS degree. How appropriate is that?
yeah. And what is it in?
Radio, TV.
Okay.
How appropriate is
Well,
that?
that's good. I was wondering, you know, what the credentials were. I knew that it's probably something there that got you.
Oh, it's a BS degree. It's
Okay.
very appropriate.
And your name was Randy Hankins.
That's it.
And your name is on.
Don't say that too loudly.
Okay.
I owe a lot of money.
I was wondering how you handled
Well, when you write hot checks, you need an air name.
that. What happens is that name. I mean, right now, I know you're not into like you were at the Channel 11 or anything else. You're not into those kind of. That's a name that
Not on the air.
not on the air.
I'm on the air once a week on the Buzz 103.7 for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm a buzzard.
Okay.
So I light down on the buzz and then I fly off and look for more dead meat. But the story goes that in 1972, I was looking for a job. I got hired at KARN AM station at that time. And the program director said, you know, I'm from Kentucky, and in Kentucky, Hankins, especially Randy Hankins, that's country.
Yeah.
So I've worked with a guy in Seattle who was very popular. He had a great name, Craig O'Neill. I'm going to give you that name. So that's how I got the name, which means, Herb, that for the last 54 years, there's been a guy from Seattle who's probably been in therapy.
I would think so. All right. So are you any? I know Jeff Hankins. Are you any?
Well, I'm often asked. Jeff and I are best buddies, and no, we're not related. We have tried to. Let me back up. I've tried to find a way we're related. He has pretty much distanced himself from the effort.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering about that because his son's getting married this weekend in down in Dallas.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of my son and a lot of his friends are down here. So
Wait a minute. Jeff Hankins' son's getting married?
Yeah, getting married. His son Luke.
Oh, I never got an invite.
You didn't?
No.
Well,
And I knew this kid. He was brilliant with
Yeah.
figures and math. He's a good mathematician.
I know, and he's working in Houston now, and he's in financial services
He
station.
should be.
Yeah, he was on the quiz bowl, and my grandson was on the quiz bowl with him. So that's where another connection we had. But I know Jeff for a long time, and his family. So yeah, I know they.
Sure, the invite
they
got
were in-
lost. Yeah, got lost. in the
They got
mail.
lost in the mail.
Yeah.
I know my son and my daughter-in-law are on their way down here, and
Oh, I was in a good mood for this podcast till now.
well, I hate to break that news to you.
Well, let's look on the bright side, because that's what you do with this podcast. I don't have to buy him a present.
Yeah, you know. Well, we'll see how it goes. But I'd say they're going to have a good weekend down there. Now, one thing I noticed that you did, and I know I remember you were at the university and you did the state announcer for
Right.
a year. Now, what brought that down, and what was the deal for a year? I know. Seemed like you brought on the first down thing.
Right.
I mean, I heard
97 through 2002.
Oh, it was.
I did it for 5 years.
Okay, I did.
And it's basically a story of David Basil
Okay.
is on the Governor's Council of Physical Fitness, and one day we had a big thing at the state capitol. Kids from schools from all over Central Arkansas came, and I did these wacky aerobics.
Okay.
And I had everybody in the crowd going. And David went to Coach Broyles, because Coach Broyles and David were like that, because David had come up with the Broyles Award.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Coach Broyles,
Yeah.
he had Coach Broyles' ear, and he tells Coach Broyles, if you're looking to build enthusiasm before the game, you got to get Craig O'Neill to light up the crowd and have fun with the crowd before the game and at a party. Well, Coach Broyles tells David, and I quote, David, I can do better than that. I can call and get him on and put him in the booth, in the announcer's booth, and he can not only do the pregame party, he can get everybody to continue to get worked up during the game. What do you think of that, David? So they called me, and I had the job.
Okay.
And did it for 5 years. Until I went into TV and got to be too much of a competition with Channel 7, who had the voice of the Razorbacks, the late Paul Eels.
Sure.
And I was being introduced at Razorback Club meetings as the voice of the Razorbacks. Well, that's not sitting real well with Channel 7.
No.
Here's a TV guy, because I was in radio when I got the job, went to TV, and Coach Broyles called me up, and we had to part ways.
Okay.
If I'd stayed in radio, I'd probably still be in the booth.
Well, I was wondering about that because I knew that they did. I remember that they started using that first down thing, you know,
Yeah.
and that was something that just kind of carried over, and just a lot of things that were there that were interesting. And one other thing I was going to hit you with is I saw on the ESPN2 Outdoors.
Yeah.
What did that amount to?
Well, that amounted to about $15,000 a year, if you want to know the truth.
Well,
Herb got it out of me.
okay.
You know, let's just back up real quick.
All right.
Radio, I was #1 for several years.
Yeah.
I debuted ESPN2 on a daily basis with an outdoor show stadium announcer. How could Jeff Hankins not invite me to that freaking wedding?
Well,
I've brought honor to the name Hankins indirectly.
indirectly.
But anyway, ESPN2, people don't realize that Jerry McInnes, who had an outdoor fishing show locally, this is a true story, in 1978, he goes and knocking on the door in this little fledgling network that was in mobile homes in Bristol, Connecticut. And he buys 30 minutes of time from them. And when he leaves, according to legend, all the executives in the mobile home started high-fiving one another. They just sold their first 30-minute show
Wow.
to this bumpkin from Arkansas for ESPN.
Wow.
He was the first one to buy it, and he grew with ESPN and they depended on him to provide programming more than any other person in the United States, outside programming. And in the early days of ESPN, that was so important because they didn't have the resources. So they would bring in what were called packagers. And Jerry McInnes was a packager. So if they're going to open up ESPN2, and they don't have that many resources yet, what are they going to put on ESPN2? They're going to go to Jerry McInnes, who came to me and 3 other people, and every day for 2 hours to kick off ESPN2, an outdoor show. And it lasted for 2 years. And then ESPN2 started to grow too.
Yeah.
And now you don't see anything but outdoors on the Outdoor Channel. But in the early days of ESPN2, how could Jeff Hankins not invite me?
We'll get that to you. Well, the other part of that, I never have seen any videos of the ESPN2. Did they bury those?
Oh, they got them, but I don't know where they are.
Yeah, I didn't. I just kind of browsed around. I thought, well,
They're
interesting to see.
pretty crazy. They're beautifully shot, but we get kind of goofy.
where all did you go to shoot them?
Oh, well, we went all over. I mean, we went to San Francisco, California. We went to Nevada. We went to Texas, of course, Missouri. Of course, a lot of it shot in Arkansas, and people don't realize you can go to places in central Arkansas 15 minutes from downtown and make it look like Colorado, North Carolina, California, Florida. I mean, you wouldn't mislead people, but you would have that look. Of course, you can't do a seashore, but still, it's remarkable.
Okay. Well, that was 2 things. I'm gonna stop this right here for a second.